Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for being here. This is Coach Les and SUJATA Against All Odds live podcast and videocast. We are here today following yesterday, we talked about customer service nightmares. And today we're going to talk about how to avoid and train and develop customer service nightmares, and what are some of the tips and techniques we can do to train and empower our employees, people that we work with, our clients, to avoid the nightmares. And I'm here today with my co-podcast leader, Miss SUJATA, who wrote this book, Against All Odds, No Retakes, No Manuals, Real Life Lessons. SUJATA has accumulated a wealth of experience during her life, leading to insights and knowledge that cannot be coached or taught in a class. She's a mother, a wife, a journalist, a consultant, an activist, a leader, and businesswoman domestically and internationally. In sharing her story, SUJATA strives to provide readers of all backgrounds in any part of the world with real-life examples on how to deal with the unpredictable nature of everyday life. And we have teamed up to share with you and create with you the miracles of life's experiences and supporting what is going on in the world, in small business, so that we can level up as a community. As one of the things that I know is when all boats rise together, it's an amazing opportunity, an amazing concept. And that's what we're here to do on the Coach Les and SUJATA Against All Odds live podcast. So thank you all for being here. And welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, Michelle. Welcome to the stage. And with that, I'm going to pass the mic over to SUJATA to let her say hello and give her introductory remarks, statements, maybe a little bit of opinion about yesterday's podcast and a little bit of opinion about today's upcoming podcast. SUJATA, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Coach Les. And yesterday's episode had a lot of interesting, differing perspectives as well. And they all led to some insights on this very vast and broad topic, I would say. And today also, I'm looking to some awesome shares and case studies which will help us to learn as to how we can develop and train in customer service, because it's not about selling a product. I think it was Janet who said that everybody is a customer, right, when you're engaging and you have something to offer. So it's a position where in any relationship, if you're offering something and somebody comes to you, then they are your customers. So it's vast and broad, and based on our experiences, I think we shall learn some insights. I can give one example of how it is. So when in Singapore, I have this agency who takes care of all my, filing of taxes, dealing with the government, taking care of our employment passes, so forth and so on. There was a time when I was working with them as a director shareholder on a dependent pass. And then the government changed its laws and said that you can't manage a business being a dependent pass holder. And since they had not listened to their client, that is me, and had put me on a very lower salary bracket and not in the right criteria based designated spot, guess what? I had to apply for my employment pass, which got rejected twice. And I got so upset with them that I went into this silent zone where I never interacted with them. And one of the people down the line, she kept chasing and did not give up. And then she had an exchange with me where I told her my dissatisfaction, and I said, I don't think you care about your clients. And she said, no, we do. So I said, I don't hear it from the upper management. And so she took it up with the upper management, and the CEO met me and corrected the situation, because he was, as we say, leadership starts from the top. He was a humble guy, and he wanted to, be there for every client of his, which is very important. When you have a large organization, you sometimes forget to be there for every client. And then he set matters right. But imagine if it was somebody at the top who didn't care. Okay, if one client goes, I have so many other clients. If that would be the mindset, then he would have lost me as a client. But that didn't happen. And instead, I'm still with them. And I did get my employment pass.
Well, thank you for sharing, Sujata. Appreciate that. Just so you know, I had to pop, as soon as you were done sharing, I had to pop out of the room. My screen was frozen on Facebook after sharing out on Facebook. Something is
No
definitely
problem.
something is definitely wrong with Facebook. It continues to freeze every time I share to Facebook, and I have to drop off and come back.
Hazards of technology.
Amen. So with that, I'd love to just hear kind of a baseline view of what your thoughts are around how to train, around customer service. What are some things basically out of the chute before we dive into a few tips and techniques and idea generating? What do you currently do? So with that, I'm going to pass the mic over to Sister Janet. Are you available?
Yes, I'm stuck in traffic, so it's a great time to speak. One of the things that what's very important is, the hiring. Of course, you want to hire someone that has great communication skills, that's flexible. Right, in today's workforce, there's a lot of impatience. There's a lot of missed communication. So there's opportunity to continue to coach them as far as how to communicate, what the best way to communicate, and see how flexible they are, in willing to listen and adapt to these recommendations that are made for them to be better at communicating and getting making changes. Because usually when you have communication with your customers, it kind of gives you idea, are you providing a good service? Are you knowledgeable in your area? Are you proficient? There's a lot of answers you can get from a communication from any customer that comes to you. One of the big topics right now in the workforce is the lack of leadership. People are promoted and they don't have people skills or communication skills. What happens when you don't have good leadership? The quality of the communication, the customer service, it suffers. And that's what we're seeing. There was a lot of shifts in the workforce regarding the people skills of the staff, all the way up to those roles that have to serve in leadership roles, that have to have the ability to manage, train, and supervise. Those areas are strongly missing in many areas. And I could give many examples, especially from my last employer, where it was non-existent. And so what you want to do as a leader, and you always talk about this, Coach, all the time, is to level each other up. And that's basically what you're doing in a leadership role when you have staff that comes in and you are teaching them better communication skills, opportunities, and also showing how it allows them to be more proficient in their work, that they can see opportunities within the company to expand their knowledge, to gain those leadership, get recognition, and possibly get promotions. Those are some ideas that come across when I hear about what can we do to improve customer service. Those are just a few, and I look forward to hearing the shares from other people in the room. Thank you, Coach. This is Jeanette, and I'm complete.
Thank you, Jeanette, and thank you for coming up on stage. Oh, I wonder what happened to poor Michelle. Must have gotten booted out. Well, welcome, Damaris. Welcome. Thank you for being here. We'd love to hear your opinion on what do you think about customer service and ways to train. Oh, she dropped back to the audience. Okay. Come back. Come on up. Maybe she came up by accident. No worries. Welcome, Betty. Welcome, Amen. Welcome, Rianma.
Maybe they're shy. Or just the topic alone. So if you have any questions, you and Sujata can ask me any questions.
As far as, I guess, for me, Jeanette, I'd love to hear, what do you think about the fact that because it's so hard to find employees, the level of customer service in every arena is way down? What are your thoughts about that?
A lot of people that have been promoted are given positions and they don't have the skills. They're not good communicators. They're not good organizers. They don't know how to manage staff. They're impatient with their staff. And when you have that, you're going to see that trickle down. Remember, whenever you have a culture, it starts from the top and goes down. It doesn't go from the bottom up, it goes from the top down. So if you're seeing that at the lower levels, that just tells me that the culture that is created by those at the top is toxic.
Sujata, what was your experience in dealing with the police?
So, the police actually have a very maligned kind of a reputation. And some people just don't go to the police because they're skeptical, they're scared, and they have, that they're the bad wolf in the uniform because of some bad apples in the force. In my case, however, I found that they were the ones, my experience was that they were the ones who actually helped me and stood by me rock solid. So it depends on who is the person who takes the action, who is the person, who is at the top, because it comes from the top. If there is the top leadership who sends a strong message about how we have to deal with the customers, that is very, very important. And that doesn't always happen, and so people down the line take liberties, or they're not interested. A lot of people actually, I would say, get into customer service, but if they're not service minded,
or they're not interested. A lot of people are.
is there an echo?
Now, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay, but I thought that I heard my own voice twice over. Anyway, so what I'm saying is that if you are just getting into customer service because of the money that you make, or you're not really interested in people and serving them, then it's not the right profile for you. So if you end up in a very customer centric role, then you should have the mindset to actually serve. That is something basic. You don't have that, then you will not be receptive to all the training in the world. As far as the leadership sends a strong action, like in the police, from down to the first officer who took the first information report, it was because the leadership at the top said that treat it as your own. And they were very clear that in a difficult case they had to step up probably twice over to see that there were no loopholes and everything was done properly, because ultimately in the court of law these things count. So it all depends on who you land up with as a customer, and on the other end it depends on the person at the top as to what strong signals are sent down the line. So it's there for every sphere of experience that we have on both sides of the matter. I mean, I definitely wouldn't have got the justice I wanted if the cops were not inclined to help me.
Mm. So, Sister Jeanette, did you want to?
So I worked in law enforcement for 5 years, and it has changed. It's become a little bit more militaristic. Um, and of course, on the other side, the type of criminals you have now, it's changed a lot from when I was in law enforcement. So with that, I mean, I can see your point, Sujata, where people just don't, they hesitate if they have to call the police. We even see a shift in the law enforcement fields. We're seeing it in every profession, changes or shortages that are occurring. And look at how much of all those shortages are influenced by what we're seeing, either from this pandemic or from civil unrest. We're seeing a lot of things that are affecting every profession, and then we wonder why we're not getting serviced. Even in the medical fields, a lot of nurses, I have friends that are nurses, they've all resigned, they've retired if they could, or they do, they're traveling nurses because they can make more money, work less time, and doing better for themselves overall. And so we're seeing it in every profession, not just a police, but we're seeing the medical, the accounting. I don't know about the engineering or research, but it is changing, isn't it? We're seeing this shift and the impatience from everybody, where they're not willing to serve you or give you the information you need to even advocate for yourself. They're just saying, well, I'm not an expert in that area. Even when you go somewhere as simple as going to the grocery store, you see someone stocking the shelf and you think they work for the store, but they don't. They actually work for the company that owns the product that's being shelved, because it's like they negotiate that space in the store and then they send their people to stock it. So you can't ask them questions about the store anymore. You have to make sure they work there first, then they could answer your questions. Things are shifting. They're outsourcing. They are making changes, but we aren't aware of it because we're used to going into a store. We're looking for something. We go up to them and say, hey, where is this? And they're like, oh, yes, I can help you. But when they look at you, they say, I'm sorry, I work for this company. I'm stocking the shelves with our product. Okay, thank you for letting me know. But at least we can ask those questions. If we know it, we can ask the questions, because many times people don't even ask the right questions before they ask someone, or try to share information with some. Somebody said, do you work here? Is a quick question. Do you work here? Why, yes, I do. Do you need help? Yes. And then you have that exchange. Communication is big, and I see a lot of opportunities for Coach Les, that people need help in communicating. They really do. We're seeing the shift. That's why there's a lot of opportunity for that. The workforce is changing. Shortages are happening. You're getting people that never worked with customers or patients or community like they did before, and they're having to change the type of hat that they wear and the type of questions they receive. If they're not proficient in the work that you're asking them, or the question you're asking them to do, if they're not proficient in that area, of course, you get frustrated when they say, oh, I can't help you. I don't know anything about that. And of course, if it's a government, we have this oxymoron quote that we always use for government people. Oh, you're the government. You're here to help us, because typically government workers can't help you at all. So that's an oxymoron, and we use that a lot when we speak to government. And of course, the government has gotten a lot worse because they tend to promote without qualifications. And so you're getting people that don't know what they're doing. They're just told what to do. We're seeing this shift all over the place. So communication is very important. And it's changing. How do we train? Of course, I can go into how we can train them, but you have to have the staff, the workforce that is being hired, that has that personality and flexibility to have those people skills that you can train them, and they know exactly how to communicate with customers, how to help them. Something simple as saying, I don't have the answer for that right now. Can I take your name and number? And I will see if I can find someone that can answer that question for you. And being able to get the information and have them call the customer. And then there's the other thing. You give it to the person and they don't call the customer. And how does that make you look? A lot of things. We can go into a lot of things. So if you have any other questions, you can ask me any questions. I've probably seen it all.
Say that last thing again, Jeanette. I'm sorry, I missed that last statement.
If you have any questions that, because I have seen a lot, I've had to train a lot of people. I've had to go into companies that were being either restored or making changes. If you have any questions, I can see if I can answer them of examples that I've seen. So, if you want to ask me questions, go ahead.
Yeah, I think one of the things for me, so I've got a few easy tips that I want to share for training customer service staff. One, I think that one of the things we want to look at is what is good customer service. What does it look like in your particular business, and how to define it, and look at the vision and mission of your company. I think that's a very powerful place to start. The second is training people how to listen. How to listen. When you think about it, people don't listen. And not only do they not listen, on top of not listening, they listen with filters that they think they're listening, and they alter what it is they're hearing. And because that what they're hearing goes through their filters, and what their brain says is now literally recreated it, and you get some facsimile of what they said. I think teaching employees about phone etiquette, how to answer a phone. We still have phones in restaurants and businesses, even if it's internet based. Secondly, hold lunch and learns. Sit down with people, sit down with your employees, ask your employees, what do you think? Get into their world. Boost onboarding efforts. You know, I look at when it comes to onboarding, sometimes it takes so long to get somebody in. And yet people are screaming. And the battle happens. And it's a massive battle out there. Keep team members informed. You know, be in communication with each of the team members. Play the game of over communicating. Yeah. And lastly, maintain an internal knowledge database. And what I mean by that is have some resources, have some processes already written down so people don't have to reinvent the wheel. So that's my share for now. And I would love to hear your thoughts on those, Sister Jeanette, or...
You covered it all. You know, talking about knowing what the mission and vision of your employer is. You know, you want to hire people that buy into that look at your mission and vision and say, oh yeah, I love that. You know, where I work, when I saw the mission and the vision of how the college not only impacts the students but also the community, and then look at how their strategic plan for completing the mission and vision, and how they follow through to make sure they are impacting the students and the community and the staff and faculty. I mean, they cover everything. You want to look at that. When you look at a company and you say, I love that mission and vision, you have a measuring stick to measure how much you want to be part of that strategy, that plan that they have, and impact others. You want to have that fire in you and say, yeah, I want to do that. I want to be able to be part of that. That is important, and that is key. So I'm glad you covered that, Coach. It is important. It is. And to go in and you know, do what I do that impacts the students. And
Oops, sorry about that.
I think I'm going in and out, or you're going in and out.
No, that was Facebook. I was looking to see what messages were showing up on Facebook, and I clicked, and it all of a sudden the live popped up, and you got to hear yourself delayed. Go ahead, Sister Jeanette.
Yeah, I lost you completely. And I didn't have a red bar. So I love that you brought that up, Coach. You covered that part very well. And having the policies and the procedures all in place where it's clear, it's understood, it's measurable. Those are all important. And not only that, it's impactful to the employees, because using all those tools you're able to keep the staff, the employees motivated. Thank you, Coach.
You're very welcome. Michelle, you're back. Hi, Michelle Trado. Is your mic stuck? Oh, you're having issues with
everything's stuck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was having trouble with my phone, and I'm making dinner before I go to Shine Ministry. But I heard a little bit. I missed a lot of it, but I'll just keep listening to you guys.
Well, but hold on a second, Michelle. Hold on.
What?
I really want to hear
I don't want to say something I didn't hear anything.
It doesn't. You don't have to. You don't have to hear anything. What would be ways to develop and train in customer service to make sure that nightmares didn't happen? What are some of the key things in customer service that you would want to cover if it was your job to do the training?
Patience.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
I think that they should be patient to their employee or their associate, because I remember being trained and they go so quick. I'm like, I'm not going to be ready. They set a time, and I don't like that. I think they should look at the person they're training, and they should see when they're ready and not ready to go on their own. So patience is a big key. Yeah.
All right. Well, I actually threw that in there. I now have 9 proven and easy tips. I love it. Thanks, Michelle.
You're welcome.
And I see Jenna came into the room. Jenna Willis Johnson, we miss you in the morning, Jenna. We miss your singing in the morning. I pray for you every morning. And I did see that Damaris wrote something in the back. All right. I don't know what you do. Respect your customers and be relatable, but I'm going to invite you up again, Damaris, and you'll see up at the top a little green thing, and just hit accept invitation, and you'll zip to the stage. Jeanette, you want to send Damaris an invite, or Sujata, you want to send her an invite? Michelle?
Doing.
Yes, Coach?
I was just going to say, there we go. Hi, Damaris. The release on your microphone is the little button on the lower right of your screen. You'll see a little button next to what it looks like. There you go.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, Damaris. Welcome to the stage.
Hi. I just want to say that I find all the comments all to be true, but I feel that in order to work with customers and to deal with the public in general, you have to have a certain type of personality.
Amen.
Not everyone's meant to deal with customers or with people and as a whole, because people come in all sorts of shades of color and personalities. I deal with customers all day long. I work for an insurance company. I'm constantly calling them and asking them questions, and some of them can be tough. Some of them don't understand why I'm calling them. The only way I'm able to make them understand is if I can relate to them in some level. Yes, I understand that this situation can be confusing, but I'm here to help you to make it better for you. And in those instances, I find that they are very receptive of what I'm saying to them. And then they'll have a different way of speaking to me so that we can accomplish what we need to accomplish. But there's times where people are just not relatable. They just don't understand, and they don't want to understand. They don't want to be bothered. They have so many other different things going on in their lives. And in that instance, I have to politely just let them go. Say, okay, well, I'll try again when you feel better. I'll have someone else call you that's above me that might make you feel better about the situation. But I try, and I'm human like everybody else, but I try very, very hard never to be disrespectful to my clients, because at the end of the day, if we don't have clients, I won't have a job. So I try to make it as easy and less painful as I possibly can for them, and in turn for myself. Because if I could relate to them and I could get them to give me the information that I need, then I've accomplished my job. And as far as training, when I've trained people in the past, I look for their personality, the type of personality they have, the way they communicate, how long it takes them to accept and receive the information that I am relating to them, how well they comprehend it. And then I give them test runs, and I try to see where they're lacking. And where they're lacking is where I focus the next time around. And I try to make them as functional as I possibly can before I set them out there in the world to kind of get beat up, because when you work in customer service, you deal with a whole lot. So that's my contribution today. Thank you for allowing me to say what I have to say.
Well, we love what you have to say, so thank you very much. And thank you for being here. Thanks for coming up on stage. Thanks for being a part of the action.
Thank you for allowing me to be part of the action.
Well, I'm going to take this moment before I pass the mic over to you, Jenna. I want to take a quick moment to do what is known on Clubhouse as a pull to refresh. And it's a way to reset the stage, reset the conversation, and just make sure that for those people that are listening to the recording, they know what we're up to. For those people that are thinking about coming and joining us and listening in at this point, this is a huge opportunity for that. And we are currently live on 5 locations on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. And we are also here on Clubhouse. And on Clubhouse, we have the ability to invite people up onto the stage to share. And while you're up on stage, we also have the ability to join our 24-hour Bible study club. And we also have the ability to share our website that has just had some remodeling done to it. So we're super excited about that. And it also, we have a phenomenal opportunity for what I would call ways to contribute to our mission work. We chose to create this club on Clubhouse that is open to all people of all faiths. We are followers of Christ. We have a biblical background and perspective. And when you go to our website, you'll see our vision and our mission. And the cool thing about our vision and our mission is we are looking to make what I would say is one of the most profound differences out there. And that is, we are excited about opening up a school, a church, and an organic garden combination, what we call the Holy Trinity of buildings. Our first one that we want to put together is in Cameroon. And it's our big, in sales, there's this term called the big, hairy, audacious goal, a BHAG. And it's our big, hairy, audacious goal to have this be realized. And when you go to the missions, you will see that with purpose, passion, and power, we have a mission. We have two missions for, why we're building a website. One is to connect people who are called to our vision and mission. Second is to raise money and raise awareness for a Holy Trinity of buildings, a school where every teacher is certified as a coach, a church where everyone is welcome, arms are open to every race, every nation, every color, every person from any stature, and then, as I said, an organic farm. And the organic farm is self-contained in a shipping container that provides food for 1,200 people and enough water. It's solar powered. And our goal is to build this Holy Trinity of buildings to support Cameroon first, Haiti second, Mexico third, and then here in the US for the fourth one. And we have a team of people. We call them our board of directors that come together every Thursday night and and meet and discuss ways in which to create and grow the 24-hour Bible study. We have this opportunity and the podcasts. We do also have a room every single morning at 6:30 a.m. Central Standard that is called the Morning Possibility with a Cup of Bible. We have rooms where books are read, stories are shared, women come together Monday, Wednesday, and then on Friday we have families that pray together, do Bible study together, stay together, and also look at sharing worship, because God said let's dance, let's sing, let's worship. So we've created a room where that happens for an hour. Also, we come together for finances tomorrow, Friday, in the afternoon at 2:15 Central. And we are looking for ways to support other people coming into our rooms, our club, and say, hey, we want to share and design a room to do this. Well, whatever this is, we will support you in creating this. I know that there's a lot of people that occasionally pop onto Clubhouse and some other areas, and they go, would you start a GoFundMe for us? Well, we currently already have our funding and charity set aside that we're working towards. Our goal is to really create this loving community. This morning, I'm so blessed and so touched to say, we had a gentleman, a Muslim, come in who has started to get interested in who was Jesus Christ. I've got to learn about him. In his Muslim beliefs, he was a prophet, and yet there's so much more. And now he wants to learn more. So with that, we're here to create and open the space for more. We're here to create and open the space for people to get excited about sharing and caring for others and looking at ways to help promote your dream, what it is you're looking to in a club form, in a room form. We're not here. We don't want to be the next bank where people come and say, hey, we want to GoFundMe for this village in Africa. Yes, we're supporting Mumsy's children in Cameroon. And we most recently donated a sizable portion of our treasury, and we're able to put 120 students through school starting this fall all the way up to next spring and getting them trained. So those are the miracles and those are the things we're looking to create. And that's why we have a board of directors. So with that, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for everybody being here. And I want to pass the microphone. I see we've got a couple new people up on the stage. We have Jenna, Fabian, and Pastor Ronald. And then we have Mamasa and Samina that just popped in the room. And then for everybody, Kristen, that's my beautiful bride, who is amazing and is sitting in, listening in. So really a shout out to her for putting up with me. And with that, Jenna, what would you like to say about customer service and some of the things that you think might make a difference for people to train their customer service staff and ways of doing it? Because I know you come from a minority in two ways, and I would love to hear your heartfelt ideas on what could we add, or the people that are listening, what could we add to our corporate training policies that would incorporate you feeling loved, nurtured, and cared for every time you stepped into the business? The mic's yours, Jenna. Jenna, are you there? I can hear something going on. Hi, Jenna.
Let's see.
Yep, I can hear you.
This thing won't go out on me. Yep.
Uh-oh. Are you having troubles with your microphone today, Jenna?
I'm saying the connection is terrible. Where stupid thing.
We heard that. Your connection is terrible. We got that. Do you want to write it in the room chat and I'll just read it once you've typed?
Yeah.
All right. Love you. Thank you for being here. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to pass the mic over to Mr. Fabian. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Coach. Good to be back in here. Great conversation and always good to hear. How can we make changes? And, you know, so many rooms we go in and we're pretty much preaching to the choir. Everybody is in agreement, but once the room ends, it's like, okay, we've discussed stuff, but what are the actionable things that we could have at least discussed? And I think that is something that we need to be more mindful of as we are right here in this room, is what can we do? Even something small that we can carry over to the next room, maybe perhaps next week or the following week, but just keep building on little things instead of sitting in rooms and complaining about what elected officials don't do for us.
Amen.
So as far, go ahead, Doc.
No, I just said amen. I just agree with that 100%. And that's, you know, so far we've got 9 ideas and, you know, on how to work. I think Jenna just came up with one on the room chat where she said, I think customer service folks should be trained on how to work with a visually impaired person such as myself. And, you know, my answer to that is, to be honest, I would love to hear, you know, from Jenna, like what are like specifics, right? So that when we stand in front of our staff, we have specific examples. This is how to make them feel loved, welcomed, and taken care of in our store, in our business, in our restaurant. So I'm 100% with you, Fabian, and I'm going to pass the mic back to you to continue and add to your list. I add to our list.
Right. And I think, I think we need to ask folks what they want instead of assuming what they want. And one thing was really 2 years ago, a group of men had a conference on women rights, and there were 6 panelists, Coach. And how many of them were women? I'm going to give you a guess.
There were 6. 1.
0.
Oh.
Coach, I almost fell
I
off
thought as much.
when I looked at the flyer. My point is, this is the classic example of why we need to stop assuming what folks need and actually go ask, even with children. We needed to have some more young folks in these rooms and ask them, look, what are we missing here? What do you need? And let's stop assuming. And the same thing applies to the workplace. We have these meetings. I've been in them. We've all been in them. But at the end of the day, they pretty much have their own mind made up. But I would say just the 3 basic things is, as you said, access for those that might be impaired in any way. I think diversity, equity, and inclusion are 3 topics that never go away. So, make your employees feel as comfortable as possible. It's not always about getting that next raise and the money and the benefits. Yes, that plays a big part. But if you can make your employees feel loved, make them feel loved, even if you don't have that money to dole out for that next raise, that goes a long way. Let people feel appreciated, and they will run through a wall for you. Thank you, Coach.
That's I'm 1,000%. It's so funny. Coming from the restaurant business, and I think of the number of people that would have no clue what it takes to manage a kitchen and a restaurant between closing and opening. Like, what does it look like to clean, prep, and cook? Right? It's something that, yes, we see these famous chefs come on and do stuff on TV, the challenges. We may even see Restaurant Impossible and see that show and get another small inkling. But to actually have the experience of what it is to scrape the grease off the floor under the fryers, scrub the floors, scrub the toilets and the walls in the toilets because people are too lazy, or the seats, the back of the seats, to wipe off the spit that people just spit on the walls just because, to be responsible for the garbage that doesn't make it into the garbage, even though the garbage can is 3.5 feet circular in diameter. And then look at what does it take to prep all the food, to wash all the dishes, to make sure the dishes and the glasses are spotless and the silverware is spotless. What does that take to do that? And then appreciate it as, wow, these are the things that are, when we go out to eat, this is what we're paying for. This is why food in a restaurant is more expensive than eating at home. And we want to tip, and why employees get tipped. So I think there's so many things like this. And, just to repeat this for people that may have just jumped in, and, for your opportunity as well, Fabian and Pastor Ron, I started out with proven and easy tips for training customer service staff. First, define good customer service. What is it? What's the vision and the mission of the business? And the vision of the mission incorporates, if we deliver this at the height that we're committed to, that's going to be good customer service. And here are some of the other things. 2, train employees to listen. 3, teach employees about phone etiquette. 4, share relevant resources, the things that are available in the restaurant for new employees. Who are the people, who are the go-to people that work there? Hold lunch and learns. So take a, I'll never forget when I worked for this restaurant called Filio in Minneapolis when it first opened. The training was over, it was over a week long. And they started from the first day, and every breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we were there. We were there for 9 hours training for 7 days. We went through and ate and tasted every item on the menu. We learned all the ingredients. We cleaned, we polished, we got rid of the dust from the finishing touches that happened in the restaurant. We were tested on the ingredients because this was the first American bistro that had unique ingredients like pine nuts in the angel hair pasta, and the shrimp in the capellini, and making sure we knew, what's a margarita pizza. What was all the different factors? How long? What's the calzone? How long did it take? So all of this stuff. So we were taught phenomenal customer service, boost onboarding efforts. I mean, talk about, once we were open, one of the ways that we trained people was we called it penguin training. And for 5 days, a server would follow you for the first 3. Then we would follow them and make sure that they were doing everything correctly and that we could correct it on the fly. And towards the end there, those last 2 days, we would actually share tips with them. We didn't have to, but we always did as trainers. So it was a wonderful way to get people excited and well-trained. Keep team members informed. I tell you what, nowadays with computers, it's a lot easier. But we used to have a blackboard in the kitchen. And when you went back to order food, we'd look up, and there were the 86 items. 86 was the common term for we're out of this particular item. And then keeping people, hey, this is a very important, this is a VIP table. So if we suddenly see all these people, wanting to come in and be paparazzi around a VIP table, kindly shoo them out of the restaurant. Maintain an internal knowledge database, a process book, a 3-ring binder with all the processes. Patience, access for handicap impaired persons. As you said, inclusion, diversity, and make your employees feel loved. So that's our list so far. Super excited to continue to build it. And with that, I'm going to pass the mic over to Pastor Ronald. It's good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. Interesting topic that you're mentioning. I don't know if I can add to your list. Your list seems very thorough. I always like the idea of courtesy and competence. Oftentimes, I think we've lost the art of civility in our society, and maybe the skill of empathy. If that's the skill, to being empathetic to the people who you're serving. I guess maybe learning to love them for the moment in time, and skillfully, put yourself in their place and try to satisfy and serve them. I think right now we probably have more people who are doing a job for a paycheck as opposed to doing it because they are passionate about what they do.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I always say, if you're working at a fast food restaurant, that's not where you're going to end up, And sometimes we just see those kinds of things as past foods and we treat them as such. But there are many things that you learn on your way to getting to where you want to go. And learning how to manage bad situations when maybe a customer is unhappy, or maybe when your boss is unhappy about your work. Learning the skill of becoming competent at what you do, no matter what you do, no matter where you are in the process of where you want to get to. Reaps benefits later on, and I think, in passing those kinds of values to your children, your coworkers, your colleagues, your employees, your employer, being the best you that you can be, I think helps in the idea of customer service, and helps you in the long run to be able to manage things in the future that once you find yourself where you want to be, the job that you want and the lifestyle that you want. Those kinds of skills that you learn when, in the transition, will go a long way to preserving you. I've looked back and said, well, I've saved many bad opportunities because I've learned how to be gracious. In the past, I've learned how to be gracious in my transitions. This was just a job, but I was fair in the job. I was kind, at the workplace. It wasn't just a pass through. I tried to be thorough. So being competent and being not gracious, but being gracious also, but being civil, but being courteous, learning courtesy, the art of courtesy, and I think you've encapsulated that in everything that you've said. So that's where I stand. I'll rest my mic. Thank you, Coach. Thank you for a great topic.
Awesome, Pastor Ron. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So we now have 14 on our list. So I'm excited. I just threw it out to YouTube and Facebook, and so it's out there in the world now for people to read it and see. And I think that there is this is the hottest. I believe this is the hottest ticket. There are people that say we're in a recession. We're going into a recession. Now what? Well, for me, now's the perfect time. If you're not as busy as you were last year at this time, or even 2 months ago at this time, train. Start putting that money into training. Don't stop. Don't fire people and stop spending money. Instead, invest in leveling up your employees and let it be known. We're taking this time to expand our service, our customer service. Come on in and test us out. Give us some feedback. Sujata, what are you hearing in all this?
I'm hearing a very well-rounded discussion and covering of all the points. And maybe you can put all those points, which you have summarized in the back channel chat too.
I won't be able to, because it's not a run-on.
Okay.
In the back
Okay,
channel.
no problem.
Somebody would have to go in and manually type it in. And my phone is sitting in a holder next to the microphone at the moment.
No problem.
Coach?
Yes, Lucha.
I've noticed a lot of places and businesses are closing early because no one wants to work. What is the reason for that people aren't coming in to apply? Do you think it has to do with the stimuluses, the unemployment, or I mean, it all has to do with the pandemic? Why do you think? Why I notice places, our stores are closing like sometimes 6, 7, and they say they can't get people to work for them.
Yep. I think it's going to shift very soon. I think people are going to run out of money by the end of this year. I think next year we're going to see a complete wave of people coming back to the workforce.
Good. So it's better for us to get work now, basically. Should it be easier to get a job than being hired?
Yeah, I mean, that's my experience. I'd love to hear from other people. Jeanette, I know you've got you're around a lot of hiring and quote unquote firing. What are your thoughts on this?
Here, there's we have a surplus of job openings here in Florida. And you see for hiring signs everywhere. It's just a matter of people applying for those jobs that they're hiring for. You know, and like you said, yes, restaurants are closing earlier. They're not open as late as they usually are. The fast food, even the fast food chains, instead of staying open till 1 a.m. because people are out partying, they close at 10. So we're seeing that shift. We're seeing even for higher signs in various warehouses where there wasn't any before. So yeah, there's plenty of job opportunities here in Florida. Government positions are shifting, so probably they're minimal. But overall, yeah, there's a lot of job openings.
Coach, if I could chime in right here.
Definitely.
I think, Coach, by the way, I can't say enough I love this room, but I'll just say it again. Anyway, I think the trend will continue, and here's why. I think this pandemic really forced, whether it's business owners and also employees, to look at, to look at things differently now, including for business owners, the extraordinary amount of rent that they were paying. And now with, so many that were working remote, if that is something where they can save a couple $100,000 a year, why wouldn't they continue not coming into office, and for business owners not having to pay that rent anymore? And as far as the younger folks, who have seen maybe their grandparents and parents sit behind a desk for 30 years, they say we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're going to become entrepreneurs, and we're going to do things our way. So I actually think this is going to be the new norm for us, and it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But I do think that this is going to continue as is. Thank you.
Can I add my 2 cents here?
Of course. This is an open forum, so I love it. Thank you for all participating.
I think some of that is true. I don't think all of it is. I think some of it is true, that there are changes, and I do know that many young people are looking at, have that mentality of saying, well, I've seen my parents, my son has the same idea. I've seen my parents work all hard. I'm gonna do it differently. And like I said, I think some of that is true, but I think you also have to note, and maybe our economy is changing, but there are some values, that competitive values that come with working in-house or whatever, going to the office. And one of them is the creative advantage that comes with working with someone that you can see, that you can shake their hands, or you can see their eyes. There's a serendipity effect. The idea that I'm working on a problem and my coworker hears me, and I've had this happen to me where I'm in a group and I'm trying to solve a problem, and someone comes and says, "Oh, I overheard you do this. Have you considered that?" And corporations are very keen on the idea that getting a creative advantage, getting a solution, gives them a hedge against the competition. And when you have workers who are all in the same place, you have this synergistic effect that helps that corporation be competitive. So I do think that companies like Apple are beginning to they're trying to balance the idea of, okay, well, we want our workers to feel comfortable at home, but they're also trying to win the creative, the person who thinks up the new gadget or the new widget or whatever the case may be. And that's the culture that we live in, especially as Americans. We're not interested in really creating new toasters. What we're interested in creating the new thing that nobody else has. And the idea of the creative economy is very, very important in the American corporate mindset. So I do think that we're not going to all stay home, and yep, I'll stop there. But that's my 2 cents.
But Ron, at what price? I mean, everything does have a price, and with this kind of looming recession, I think it's really going to make business owners take a second look at, is it worth it? This interaction between coworkers, is it worth it, or is it something that maybe we can make up in another form? And once again, I think the bottom dollar is always the bottom line. So I might be wrong, but that's just the way I see it. Thank you.
Point taken. I'm not saying that the values are what we want, and I think we have to balance the values, because I do know people who won't go back to the corporate lifestyle, because I think the corporate lifestyle is really dog eat dog, and that needs to change. But some companies also are going out of business because they're no longer competitive, and that having a job or having no job can be one of the things that's adding to this looming economy. It's a balance, and I'm not saying that it's my values. I'm just saying that the economy that we live in is not necessarily a factory-driven economy. It's really I can't think of the word, but it's a creative economy that then does production. We think of ideas. Ideas is what drives our economy. Then we then use other people's economies to actually build those widgets that then get sent back to us. And the creative, unless we find some way to be more creative in Zoom, and change the way our culture, maybe change the way the economies of our culture change. One of the things that's concerning to me is the young people that come and say, "I'm going to just be entrepreneurs," without having the skill set, without learning the courtesies that we just talked about, without learning these things. And there's a little bit of a rude awakening that population, my son's population, are beginning to find that, just because I know information and I've gotten information doesn't mean that I have skill, that I have learned these things, and they may find themselves, between a rock and a hard place when they learn that knowledge itself is not adequate, and you need someone. You need the hands-on skill of learning how to manage social interactions, not just by computer or by phone. The social interaction of learning from someone, being taught by someone, being engaging face to face. Just another thought too. Harvard and the advanced schools learned very early on that it's not information, it's not data that makes people learn. And at one time or another, you can still go and get all the data that they give the top schools. You can download their coursework, but they've learned really the interaction between the teacher and the pupil. That teacher interaction, that engagement is what makes students learn, and what separates the A-class students versus D-class students. And that's what they offer. They offer the expertise of the professor, the expertise of, the expertise of people in those fields, and they bring those people into the classroom so the top-notch students learn. But it's not an engagement that's out. It's an engagement that has to do with, touching the person, feeling the person, understanding what they're not saying, and so forth and so on. Until our technology can capture that, I think it's going to be hard for us to actually change the economy the way that it is. But I agree with you. It is too much of the corporate culture is too much of a dog eat dog, and we do need to find some way of personalizing it, especially, its engagement with families. Families are taking a loss. I don't really believe in having a two-family work environment. I think that's too hard on the family, but we need to change that slowly. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Ron. And I want to welcome Ace. Ace, how are you? Good to see you, sir. Ace, are you able to come off mic? It looks like your mic is stuck. Oh, there he is.
I will get that big machine in it.
Okay, yeah, it does. It sounds like you're not actually able to. All right. Well, let's go. I'd love to go around the room another time and hear what's continuing to show up after, Fabian and Pastor Ron just shared, because I love what they shared. So,
Coach, I got a question for the room.
yeah, go for it, Fabian.
I love this stuff, man. Would you rather, if you had to choose, would you rather have great customer service and an average product, or horrible customer service and a great meal, a great product?
Do you want my answer?
Everybody's answer, sure.
Okay, I'm going to take one on number one.
Okay. Anybody else?
Sister Jeanette? Uh-oh. Okay, Sujata?
Without a doubt, the first one.
First one for Sujata. Okay, we got two.
First one for me too.
Tamara's three. Michelle Trado? The beagle must have had an attack. Woof, 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 woof. Pastor Ron?
Oh, yeah, it's the first one also for me. And
How did you know? You're right.
Yep. And Sister Jeanette, are you able to come off, or are you busy in traffic? All right. Ace, how about you?
I'll go with number one.
And how are you, Ace?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Just maintaining, getting back into the swing of things slowly, but you learn a lot about people. I'll just say that.
Awesome. Are you do we need to put you on our prayer list there, Mr. Ace?
I'm always good with prayer. Even if I was doing what I would like, I would still want people to pray for me.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, things been cool. It just been in a new place and getting to know people for who they are, right? You got the titles of family, and sometimes an individual will get stuck in that days instead of looking at them for who they are as a person, if that makes sense.
100%. They get glammed by the blitz.
Coach, I gotta go. My bus is here, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Love you later, Michelle. Be careful.
Okay, I will. Bye.
So for anybody, I did put the list into LinkedIn. I made a post on LinkedIn. So the list is there. You can go pick it up. I did try to share it on the back channel, but it didn't work. I sent it to Michelle and it all scrambled up all over the place. So and I do have a picture. So if you want the picture, let me know. I took a snapshot of it as well. So I do have it in picture form. Here's the other thing about customer service that I really want to get excited about is I want to hear from customers. I want to hear from customers before they give me a 1 or a 2 star. I want them to say, how can we make your experience when at the register, let's say it's a store, you pay for your product. The last thing is they hand you your change. Thank you so much for being here. And how could we have made your experience better today? And I believe that if we have that kind of communication, we get that involved with speaking to the customers, speaking to the clients, and then also asking the employees, what are the tools, what are the things that we could provide for you? I mean, oh my goodness. So this is one of the things that I never understood. Buying pens. So I have a pen that I have. It's a nice pen. Every time I give one to somebody, they go, oh, I like this pen. How much is this pen? You know, for me to pay for it and get my logo, well, typed on there. It's not my actual logo, but less is more coaching and my phone number and name. They're 75 cents each. To make sure that each employee, if I was in my restaurant, has a good pen to give to their staff, to their customer, to sign a check or sign a credit card slip, or to give them 10 pens, $7.50. I know 2 things. I'm not going to have any ink leak through the apron and ruin pants or ruin underwear on the server. My clients that in the restaurant clients are going to touch the pen and go, ooh, I like that. And for me, that experience, it's one of those things. It's the end of the meal. And if I hand them a pen that has one of those plastic tops on it, so many servers chew on those things. And I've watched a server pull one out of their apron, pull the top off, write down a menu order, stuff the pen back in their mouth on the chewed top, and stick it in their pocket. And I just think, I'm glad I have my own pen to sign the credit card slip when it comes to the end, because I don't want anything to do with their pen. And then on top of it, they got to use their mouth and their hand to take the cap off the pen. And if they get one of my pens, it's got a clicky top on it. And so those, to me, those are the little things that make such a profound difference. You know, telling a server, look, it's the end of the meal. Make sure they get the check when they want it. Don't let the customer ask for their check. Make sure you are asking if they are ready for the check. Is there anything else we can bring you today? We do have some excellent desserts. I'd love to bring one with 2 forks so you can each have a bite. I mean, I used to sell 1 cheesecake to a table of 4 with 4 forks. And I tell you what, I sold so many. I used to win contests for dessert sales. Why? Because any table of 4, I could make their mouth water at the end and say, look, if I bring 1 cheesecake, each of you can have 1 bite. That 1 bite to end the meal. And they all look at each other, and always out of 4, one of them goes, sure. It's my least favorite answer, but in the restaurant world, it was my favorite answer, because sure, go ahead meant yes, bring 1. And people, then what's the thought? They've each had something sweet. They're happy. Go ahead, Fabian.
And you know what, Coach? The experience might trump the food sometimes, you know, and so many of us don't realize that we seek out experiences that we can talk about, you know, in the future. You remember when we went to that restaurant there and we had that awesome cheesecake, and we had great conversation, and we were telling jokes, and that is all that we really, it's not about that great meal all the time. It's about, we had great customer service, and she kept checking on us, and she was polite, and, you know, and then to top it off, we had that great cheesecake. that experience, you can't buy that experience.
Exactly. And you know what? It may have just been plain cheesecake. It wasn't even anything fancy.
Nothing spectacular. It's not going to win any contest anytime soon, but the whole night, the experience will live on forever.
What I love, though, Fabian, is going into a restaurant and you ask them, because I have a sweet tooth, and I say, what do you have for dessert? And you know what the server says? Nothing. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You got $1 million restaurant here. Your menus are at least $10 a piece, and you don't have any dessert? Are you? It would boggle my mind.
Burn down the restaurant.
And you know, and then I find out that the owner doesn't really like sweets, and the chef isn't big into sweets either. I'm like, I don't care about whether you like it or not.
That sounds kind of selfish, that just because they don't like, they're watching their waistline, that we got to watch ours. But anyway, let me digress there.
You know, this is and I tell you, you know, it's one of those things. You know, it's, for me, it was always about creating an experience. And, you know, we had, you know, I've worked at a couple places that had some amazing desserts. You know, I worked at a Greek restaurant that had phenomenal baklava, which is phyllo dough pastry, walnuts, and honey, basically. And I would, you know, we had some dessert wine. And because the owner liked dessert wine, there was always a bottle open in the bar. So I always knew there was, and I always knew I could charge, you know, this is going to show my age a little bit, but, you know, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I could get, you know, back in the mid 1990s, you know, another $7 for a glass of a sweet dessert wine. And I'd say, y'all, you got to try this. And I tell you what, I'll just bring 1 glass of wine and we'll pour it at the table here so the bartender doesn't get upset. And I'll pour it into 4 glasses and 1 baklava. And I want you all to try it. And they'd be like, sounds cool. And I'd bring it and I'd come back to the table and they were like, that was such a cool experience. Thank you so much for introducing us to that. And, you know, I'd have to go get the bottle of wine and show them what it was. And the amount of fun that I had, I could have made a mistake on the meal. The steak could have been too well cooked. The appetizer wasn't fast enough. And thanks to that wine and baklava. They were ecstatic, and the service was fun, and they had a great time, and that's what they remembered. And here's the thing. I can give you a story about buying a car. You know, I was the sales manager at a dealership in Wisconsin, a Ford dealership. And it was November, beginning of November. And this is a small town, and there's a lot of farmland, you know, within 25 miles. And in walks this customer, an older gentleman in jeans and a flannel shirt. And he reeks of manure and farm smells. And I could smell it at my desk. And I'll never forget, I watched, you know, because it wasn't my job. I mean, the salespeople, it was their job to come up to people that came into the showroom. And I watched, and none of them, it was like they all picked up the phone at the same time and started dialing. I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with this. I got up out of my chair and I went over and met him. And I said, you shook his hand, told him my name. He told me his name. And we started chatting. And he says, I've been to 3 dealerships today, and you are the first salesperson to come up and talk to me. I'm like, what? He said, yeah. I was over at the 2 across the street. Nobody came and helped me. And I'm over here. I'm like, well, you definitely brought the farm with you. And he goes, I know. I just got done working, and this was my only time to get in here. I said, I understand. I said, how can I help you? He says, I need to buy a new pickup truck. I'm like, all right, what do you want? He says, and he points, he says, I want this with every option you got. Do you got one on the lot? I'm like, let me go take a peek. I think so. Does the color matter? He goes, nope. It's going to have leather seats. Is that okay? He's like, that's exactly what I want. I'm like, okay. I go check. I bring back, I get the keys. We go out into the lot. He says, oh, I don't need to, because, you know, I said, here, let me show it to you. He goes, and I handed him the keys. I said, you want to drive it? He goes, nope. He says, I want you to drive it. Go get it set up and write the paperwork up. And I'll be in the little lobby lounge and get a cup of coffee. And I've got a check for it, and I'm going to pay for it in cash. So make sure you give me a good deal. I'm like, okay. And lo and behold, this is a guy that every year he buys a brand new truck. There's a budget for the farm, and hands his truck down to his family members. And at the end of the deal, he said, you know, I want to thank you. And I'd love to chat with you if you've got some time. I'd like to just tell you that the customer service that you gave me was fast. You didn't look down on me once. We joked about the farm smells, and it didn't bother you. And I could tell that, like, it was really just kind of funny. It's like you had stepped in poop yourself. And I said, yeah, who cares? It's a smell. I said, you should talk to my wife about me tooting in the car occasionally. And he laughed, and he shared some experiences with me. And one of the experiences that he shared was about honey. And he had bought a piece of property that had some hives on it, bee hives. And he had tasted the honey and figured it was pretty good. And he got it tested and how pure it was. And it was in a very good location for bees. And he did some research, and he found out that the Mayo Clinic in Rochester buys honey, and it has to be kosher, and it has to be packed a certain way. So he built a warehouse, and he built an assembly line and put jars in there, and showed up at the right person at the Mayo Clinic and sells 6,000 pounds of fresh honey every year. He has $1 million honey business. He goes, oh yeah, it's just one of my hobbies. I'm a hobby that he makes $1 million a year at. And this guy had that much money. And he was so excited to share all of this. He's like, you listen really well. And one of the things I learned from that moment is there are people with a lot of money that you have no idea who they are. And if you listen, you find out a lot about ways in which people are excited in this world and the difference they make. And to them, it's the greatest customer service on the planet. And he went straight to the owner and thanked and said, oh, that's our consultant. He's a coach. He's coming in to train the sales team. He says, well, you picked a good guy because he definitely got customer service handled. And it's one of the funnest stories I've had. And I'm just, you never know. You never know who you're talking to. That's the lesson I learned from that. And I just wanted to share that because for me, this is one of those things, once again, never judge a book by its cover. Never. Or in this case, by its smell. So with that, I see we've got a couple people that popped in. Would love to hear their thoughts on, and then I kind of want to do a wrap up because we're a little bit beyond already, and just hear some I'd love to hear from Jeremy and Mary. What are their thoughts on customer service? Some tips, easy tips for training customer service staff, and we'll see if their stuff is already on our list. If not, we'll add it to our list. So, Jeremy, you got the mic. All right. He might be busy. Mary. Oh, no, there he is.
Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, no. Ladies first. Go, Mary.
Oh, no. It's okay. You can go. You sure? Okay. So I've only been in here for about 3 or 4 minutes, so I didn't get to hear the whole thing. I heard about the customer service and you're training some car salespeople, and I didn't get the whole, I don't know how long you've had the room. I just happened to see the room and I jumped in. So yeah, I need to get on the schedule to know when y'all have your rooms every day. I know I've heard Jeanette, bless her heart, shares her time and energy to tell everybody there's something going on every day in our 24-hour Bible study, or there's other classes that are going on. So I really want to connect more. Okay, so, customer service, I wouldn't have a business if it wasn't for customer service, and you definitely have to go above and beyond. So I have many, 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 many stories with customer service. I've been in customer service now for over 30-something years. So you sometimes, in order to get, you always have to give. You got to serve and you got to be a giver, and you can't see what I'm going to get out of this. It's just first class. Sometimes even if it's not even your fault, you'll take the blame for it. So you keep your customer and you keep a happy customer. So you never, ever, ever, ever argue with the customer, even if maybe they're wrong. And you just make it as most beautiful as a way that you can make them happy, and you can just do what you can so that things can get better, and you can just let them know how much you appreciate them and you don't want them to be unhappy. So I've had to take the rap a lot in my customer service, and I have to train. I used to have I'd have consultants call me because, see, we have consultant support that works for us, from 8 in the morning till 6 o'clock every single day, on Saturday, 10 to 5. So we get, new consultants, and I'm training them, and I'm just letting them know, hey, don't ever call them with a complaint. Don't ever, just, they're taking care of us. That's their job. And sometimes I would get messages that they had not a very nice attitude, and all the calls are being recorded. You never know when you're being recorded. Amen.
Amen.
That's another thing. Woo, you better watch out. So always, even when things don't always go perfect, you know what? I always say customer's always right. And you know why? Because we want to keep them as a customer. So we can, at the end of the day, they may not always be right, but sometimes you have to just take it all in and just try to do what you can to make the customer happy. And I can promise I've had customers since 2007, and we're in 2022 right now, about to be in 2023, that have still stayed with me. Whether my rates go high with electricity, they won't switch. You know why? Because I check on them, I care about them, remember birthdays, you know. So you got to remember, customer service is everything, you know. So I'm going to land my mic. I'm big on customer service. Thank you. Big on customer service.
I love it.
Go ahead.
I love it. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mary. I appreciate that. And while we're listening to Jeremy, I just want to remind everybody, if you look, I just put the tomorrow night's Against All Odds link is tomorrow evening.
Awesome.
So go ahead and click and hit the little bell on that. And with that, Jeremy, what's your take on customer service?
Hello, Coach Les and everyone. Customer service. SUJATA is always an amazing room that you have. And just so thankful for what I was able to hear just as I'm leaving work and headed home. Customer service. You know, I work for a particular agency, and my number is very similar to another number. It's probably like one digit off. And I get a lot of calls, a lot of random calls, and they're thinking that I'm another agency. And, you know, I could choose not to give them a call back. But most of the time, if not all the time, I always call them back and let them know, hey, I got your email or I got your voice message. And I just want to let you know that the number you want to reach is this. And they said, oh, I'm so sorry. I said, no worries. And I said, is there anything that I can help you with while I'm here? And you wouldn't believe, but that question opens them up rather for them to tell their story, and to tell their story of how they may have an individual incarcerated or detained for a moment. And when you listen to them, or when I listen to them, I'm able to hear not only their heart, but I get a chance to hear, how scared they are. I get a chance to hear the anxiety that's in the background. I get a chance to hear their heart beating over the phone, and I hear their nervousness, and I get a chance to speak to them. And if it opens up where it works out where I'm able to pray for them, then I'm ecstatic, but I also just listen to them. And a tip that I would add for customer service would be to remember your why, to remember the why that you're in business. And sure, they got the wrong number when they called me, but my why was still able to speak to them. And my why for me is always in the people making business, in the people business, in seeing transformation in individual lives and families and communities. And to me, that speaks volumes, because even if it's a wrong number, it could be a wrong number on their part, but I promise you that it's a divine incident. It's a divine encounter, because although it may be wrong on their part, it was certainly right on my end. And I was delighted to share with them, to pray with them, to give them the right the right phone number, and to give them any other assistance that would support them during that difficult time. And so my tip would be to remember the why that you're in the business in the first place. And for me, that would always ground me. Thanks for asking. With that, I'm complete.
Coach, can I jump in here for a quick second?
Go for it, Fabian.
Jeremy, are you surprised by, it seems, the lack of training or the attention to detail that we're experiencing now? And what do you account that on? Thank you.
Great question, Fabian. I attribute this to people being in a rush and people being concerned about the almighty dollar. And I've seen how people step over another individual to assume a particular position. I've seen how someone would rush someone off the phone because they themselves were uncomfortable with the dialogue, with the encounter. And I find that when people can get grounded in who they are, to find themselves, as I would say, it would be intertwined with humanity. To say, wow, I know that I may need to close a deal, right? But this is a human being on the other end. This is someone who has feelings, has emotions, needs to be validated, needs to be heard, needs to be seen. And there's so many people walking around who are invisible and just begging for someone silently. They're begging silently. Is there someone on the other end of the line who could see beyond themselves? And I think when that happens, people will begin to be unseen. You will begin to see them, and you'll begin to hear other stories, and will find ways that we could assist them and provide the service that they need to get from point A to point B. Excellent question, Fabian. Thanks for letting me answer.
Awesome. And Fabian, much to your excitement, if you're available tomorrow evening, we're going to take this to another level. We're going to mix our 14 ideas along with our stories. We're going to put the stories and everything together, and we're going to dig deep and have people dig deep for their one worst experience ever, and tomorrow their biggest hope ever. Like, what would be their biggest dream for extraordinary customer service in an area or a restaurant or whatever in their own world. So those are the two things. We're going to do the extremes tomorrow night. I think it's the perfect thing for a Friday night. We might even shut it down on the video cast and keep going on Clubhouse and a little later than normal. So we'll look forward to that. And I thank each and every one of you for being here. Morgan, Greens down in the listening lounge. Lois, my beautiful bride, who's sitting waiting for me. Ace, it's great to see you, Ace. And here on stage, Mary, hopefully you can join us tomorrow evening, because I'd love to hear some of your extremes. Brother Jeremy, Pastor Ron, thank you so much for your time. Fabian, I am loving getting to know you, and I love having you in the rooms yesterday and today, and I'm excited to get to know you more. Sujata, I'm going to save the last words for you. Sister Jeanette, thank you. Hopefully your journey and your drive has been pleasurable with this listening. And with that, I thank and love each and every one of you. And Sujata, let's hear some final words from you, and then I will do our shutdown.
Thank you, Coach Les, for doing these rooms consistently. I appreciate immensely. And I would like to thank all those who come into these rooms consistently as well, because time is the greatest gift that can give to someone. And you could be doing 10 million things, but you choose to come into our rooms. And I love discerning small audiences because there is a greater interaction. And I thank all of you for that. And I hope to see all of you. And Fabian, it's always great to hear from you because the more I hear, I think there's a lot to learn from you as well. Thank you so much, all of you, for taking out the time.
Coaching with Les has doubled my practice.
We've increased our sales by about 33%, of blowing all of our goals out of the water.
In my first 6 months, I actually grew my business with his help over 500%. Literally 500%.
Les Hill is the type of person that invests back in you and back into your company. So if you're looking for a business coach with integrity, choose Les Hill.